A.J. Cronin was a Scottish physician and novelist. After his first novel became a huge success, Cronin gave up medicine and took to writing as a career. The title of the story, Two Gentlemen of Verona, is the same as that of one of Shakespeare's plays. Like Shakespeare's play, this story is set in Verona, a city in Italy. Verona boasts of many historical sites. A popular attraction is a house that is supposed to be Juliet's house in Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet. Another tourist attraction is the tomb of Juliet, which is referred to in the story. This story was written after World War II. Verona was heavily bombed during the war. After the war, the people of Verona had to face a lot of hardships. There were few jobs and necessities were expensive. In such difficult circumstances, the two boys in the story had to work very hard to pay for their sister's treatment. Though they were young, they shouldered their responsibilities with dignity. They never once complained. The author is impressed by the behavior and actions of the two boys and calls them the two gentlemen of Verona. Here's a brief summary of the story, Two Gentlemen of Verona by A.J. Cronin. The narrator and his companion are driving through the outskirts of Verona, a city in Italy. They meet two young boys selling strawberries. The older boy, Nicola, is 13 years old. His younger brother, Jacopo, is 12 years old. The next morning, the narrator sees the two boys polishing shoes. The boys tell him that they do many things for a living and even give a tour of the town. The narrator asks the boys to take him around. While the narrator finds the boys innocent, he perceives a seriousness and maturity in them as well. In the following week, the boys run many errands for the narrator. He is struck by their willingness to work. He even sees them on a pavement at midnight, waiting to sell newspapers. He asks Nicola if they are saving money to emigrate to America. Nicola replies that they have other plans. One day, the narrator informs the boys that he is leaving Verona soon and asks if there is anything he can do for them. Jacopo requests to be driven to Poleta. The narrator drives the boys to their destination, which is a large red-roofed villa in Poleta. The narrator follows the boys discreetly and discovers that the villa is a hospital. The boys had come there to visit their sick elder sister, Lucia. A nurse informs the narrator that the children's father had been killed in the war and that their home had been destroyed by a bomb. The children had built a shelter where they had lived on their own. The boys had joined the resistance movement against the Germans. After the war, they had come back to their sister only to find her suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. The brothers had persuaded the hospital to admit their sister. They visit her regularly and pay the hospital expenses every week without fail. The narrator is touched by their devotion. In their selfless actions, he sees a greater hope for humanity. Nicola and Jacopo are the main characters in the story. We see their story unfolding from the eyes of the narrator. Click each label to learn more about the characters. Nicola and Jacopo are brothers. Nicola is 13 years old and Jacopo is 12 years old. Nicola is self-reliant. He does not like to ask for favors. Jacopo is lively and naive and suggests that the author send them by car to Poletta. Nicola and Jacopo do not wallow in self-pity, but work to improve the situation. The brothers were used to a comfortable life. When they lose their father and home in the war, they work hard to meet their needs. They are devoted to their sister, Lucia, who suffers from spinal tuberculosis. They work day and night to pay for her treatment and travel 30 kilometers to visit her at the hospital every week. They are self-sacrificing. They do not spend money on clothes, food, or shelter, but they selflessly give all the money they earn for their sister Lucia's treatment. The boys display the qualities of true gentlemen. So, the author rightly calls them the two gentlemen of Verona. The narrator is a kind and generous man. He buys the biggest fruit basket from Nicola and Jacopo. He also drives them himself all the way to Poletta. The narrator is impressed with the two young boys and their willingness to work. Throughout his stay, the children do several odd jobs for him. He finds them helpful and is also concerned that they work too hard. He respects the boys and does not intrude into their personal lives. When he learns about their ailing sister and their efforts to treat her, he does not broach the subject with them. He keeps their secret. The story is about two brothers, Nicola and Jacopo. Their lives are an example of sheer grit and selflessness. Their example provides a ray of hope for humanity. Nicola and Jacopo have overcome the difficult circumstances brought about by the war. They lose their father and all their possessions, yet they survive by building a shelter amidst the rubble. When they realize that Lucia suffers from tuberculosis, they don't give up on her. Instead, they give her the best medical treatment available and take up all sorts of odd jobs to pay for her treatment. Rather than quit, they face their challenges spiritedly. Nicola and Jacopo give everything they earn for the treatment of their sister Lucia. They wear shabby clothes, eat black bread and figs, and sleep on the pavement so that they can save to meet the hospital expenses. Though they have to work hard, often late into the night, they do not complain. Nicola and Jacopo appear shabby and unkempt. Even the narrator's driver, Luigi, disapproves of their outward appearance. But once the narrator gets to know and observe the brothers, he realizes that they have noble qualities of self-sacrifice, honesty, and resilience. Though outwardly they do not look like gentlemen, their honorable nature and hearts of gold make them true gentlemen.
So students, namaste students. Just now you saw a very short movie on this chapter, that is Two Gentlemen of Verona by A.J. Cronin. Now we'll do the part of opening the textbook and revising, or you can say reading each and every line and understanding each and every word from this chapter. This, the students of CBSE have already learned it in their 10th standard, but the students of first PUC, they are from the state, they are learning this for the first time. So let's see what is there in this chapter. I hope you have your textbooks in front of you. If not, you can see on the screen, page number 101. Chapter's name is Two Gentlemen of Verona by A.J. Cronin. If you see in the starting, there is a question asked, pre-reading activity. What words or phrases come to your mind when you think of the qualities of a gentleman? For instance, well-dressed, courteous, soft-spoken. Discuss in what way these words are an appropriate description of a gentleman. So, actually, if you have seen the video, the video has explained you what qualities these two boys had. Of course, we are going to see in detail about these qualities. So, let's see. The chapter begins by saying that as we drove through the foothills of Alps. Now, if you see Alps is in the European nations, it's a mountain. Two small boys stopped us on the outskirts of Verona. Of course, this actually we are not aware who is this, but the narrator is narrating this incident saying that they were stopped at the foothills of Alps by two small boys, and as like you can say, stopped us on the outskirts of Verona. Outskirts in the sense the outward side. They are just about to enter Verona. Outskirts, or I can say at the borders of Verona. They were selling wild strawberries, bright scarlet berries that looked delicious against the dark green leaves lining the weaker basket. Now here certain words you have to take care of. What is that? They were selling wild strawberries. Why they were called as wild strawberries? Because these two boys, they went into the nearby jungle and they have plucked these strawberries. So it is called as wild strawberries, and the color here explained over here is bright scarlet. Scarlet is nothing else but red, or you can say slightly orange in color. So the color of the strawberry looked delicious against the dark green leaves. Of course, they had first spread the leaves of strawberries, and like in that leaves they had kept strawberries. So the color, the contrast color, scarlet berries and the green color attracted them, and it was kept in a weaker basket. Weaker basket, if you are familiar, it's a cane basket used, or you can say prepared. So let's move on to the next page. Don't buy, warned Yuki, our cautious driver. You will get fruit much better in Verona. Besides these boys, if you say here the cautious means the driver who was driving them to Verona, he was very, very cautious, he was very, very careful. He warned the author, don't buy these fruits from these boys. He shrugged his shoulders to convey his disapproval for their shabby appearance. Why? Because he felt these boys are not neat, they dressed shabby, so it's better not to buy the strawberries. Even the strawberries looked wild. It's better if you go to the city of Verona and bring, or you can say buy strawberry over there. One boy had on a worn jersey and cut off khaki pants. So here the author is describing these two boys. One boy had own jersey in the sense old jersey. Maybe it is used and thrown by someone, or maybe it was used and used again. And cut off khaki pants. Khaki pants which are cut off, which were made it short. The other a shortened army tunic gathered in loose folds about his skinny frame. The other boy is explaining, the author is saying that he was wearing a shortened army tunic, and even that army tunic was not of his size. It was very, very loose because his frame was a skinny frame. Skinny frame in the sense he was very, very thin. Yet, gazing at the two little figures with their brown skins, tangled hair and dark, earnest eyes, we felt ourselves strangely attracted. If you see the description over here, he says that they had brown skins. If you see the Europeans, normally they don't have brown skins, they have fair skin, but maybe these boys are going into the jungle in hot sun, or maybe that skins have got tanned. At the same time, tangled hair. When our hair get tangled, when hair is not washed properly, or when hair is not oiled properly, it is not taken care properly, you get tangled hair. So these two boys hair was tangled, and dark, earnest eyes. Earnest means dark, eager eyes. We felt ourselves strangely attracted. Till now, we don't know we means who actually. Of course, narrator is narrating the incident, but the who is the other fellow is not clear. So he is saying that we felt ourselves strangely attracted by those two boys. My companion spoke to the boys, discovered that they were brothers. Nicola, the elder, was 13, and Jacopo, who barely came up to the door handle of the car, was nearly 12. We bought their biggest basket, then set off toward town. Of course, here you see they have not listened to the warning of their driver. They were impressed, they were strangely attracted towards these two boys. The companion, here we get to know the companion. An author is there, along with him there is one companion. So his companion, author's companion, spoke to the boys, and from those boys they got to know that these two boys were brothers. The elder one was Nicola, 13 years old, and the younger one was Jacopo, 12 years old. In the next paragraph, the author explains about the city of Verona. Verona is a lovely city, rich in history, with quiet medieval streets and splendid buildings of an exquisite pale honey color. You can say exquisite means very beautiful. So here he explains about the city of Verona. He says it's a lovely city. It has its rich history, and the streets over there, you can see they are almost quite medieval type or built in the medieval period. The buildings are splendid with exquisite, or you can say very beautiful pale honey color. Romeo and Juliet are reputed to have lived there. Bombed in the recent war, it has lost its bridges but not its gaiety or charm. It's quite obvious after the war, the author is narrating that the city has lost its bridges but it has not lost its charm. So next morning, coming out of our hotel, we drew up short. Now here the author wants to say the phrase used over here, we drew up short. We drew up short means to bring to a halt. So next morning when we came out of a hotel, we took a halt. Why? Because there bent over shoe shine boxes beside the fountain in the public square, doing a brisk business. Brisk means what you can say quick business, where our two young friends of previous afternoon. So here again they saw these two boys, Nicola and Jacopo, at the public square doing a short business, quick business of what? Shining the shoes of the people coming over there. We watched for a few moments, then as trade slackened is as trade decreased, we went over. They greeted us with friendly smile. It's quite obvious these two boys had met the author and his companion. So now when they saw them, they greeted the author and the companion with a friendly smile. We watched, okay, that is done. I thought you picked fruit for a living. So here for the first time you can see narrator is speaking to the boys. They picked fruit for a living. So maybe for a living, I just thought you just do a job of going and plucking the fruits and selling the fruits. But today I'm surprised, I saw you even shining shoes. We do many things, sir. So Nicola being the eldest brother, you can say, or eldest son, he replies, we do many things, sir, answered Nicola seriously. Of course, he was the elder brother and much more matured, you can say. He glanced at us hopefully. Now, why is he glancing at them hopefully? With a hope that these two persons will give them work. Often we show visitors through the town to Juliet's tomb and other places of interest. Indirectly, he is pointing out that it's not only that we sell strawberries, we not only shine shoes, but we also act as guides over here. We show the visitors to the town and we even show Juliet's tomb and other places of interest. All right, I smiled. You take us along. So here they have got a new job given by the author. The author has requested them to take around to the city of Verona, show them city of Verona. As we made the rounds, of course, when the boys were accompanying them to show the city of Verona, as they took rounds, as they went around, my interest was again provoked by their remarkable demeanor. Remarkable demeanor in sense, he was very much impressed again by their dressing style and you can say behavior. Their polite and decent behavior attracted author once again. They were childish enough and in many ways quite artless. You can say they were childish, they were innocent. Jacopo, although his lips were paler than they should have been. So Jacopo, if you see, his lips were paler. Now when are the lips paler? When you don't get proper food to eat, when you don't get nutritious diet, your lips look pale, your nails look pale. So here, author is observing these two boys' behavior. He is impressed by, you can say the first time he met, he was impressed by their dressing, or you can say, of course, they were shabbily dressed, but even then, their brown skin, tangled hair, and the main thing is dark, earnest eyes, eager eyes had attracted them strangely. Here, if you see, by their appearance and behavior, again he was impressed. Again he was attracted. So this Jacopo, though his lips were paler than they should have been, was lively as a squirrel. Here, author has compared Jacopo to a squirrel. You have seen squirrels. Squirrel won't sit at one place. It will be going, it will be roaming, it will be jumping here and there. In the same way, Nicola maybe he is very quiet and calm, but Jacopo is compared to a lively squirrel. Nicola's smile was steady and engaging. Yet, in both these boyish faces, there was a seriousness which one respected, an air of purpose far beyond their years. Of course, their age was just 13 years and 12 years, but their behavior, their, you can say, seriousness, of course, if one sees, if one gets to know, they will respect their seriousness, their boyish faces were innocent, but their maturity, their, you can say, behavior was much more, far more, you can say, beyond their years. In the week which followed, we saw them frequently, for they proved extremely useful to us. So here the author, you can say, he is a visitor to Verona city and he stayed there for weeks. And he is saying when we stayed there for weeks frequently, or you can say now and then, these two boys were very helpful to them. If we wanted a pack of American cigarettes, here you can say maybe the author is, of course we have already learned, author is an American. He had come to the European nations to see this beautiful city, Verona, and maybe they are used to smoke American cigars, so they are in need of a pack of American cigars, and these two boys were relied upon to get the pack of cigarettes. Not only that, or seats for the opera. Seats for the opera is the unique, you can say, musical form in Europe. You might have not seen in America. You don't get to know this, what is there in America. It's a unique style in Europe. So the tickets for the opera was brought by these two boys, or the name of a good restaurant that could provide good ravioli. Now, when you go to a different place, you rely upon the people over there who provides you, better information where you will get the local dish to taste. So these two boys were really helpful. And if you say ravioli is nothing else but an Italian dish called pasta filled with meat or cheese, which we get only in the European nations. So here the author wanted to have the local taste of the ravioli. So he says that Nicola and Jacopo could be relied upon to satisfy our needs with their usual cheerful competence. Competence in the sense with skill, or you can say ability. Cheerful skill, cheerful ability. These two boys were always ready to help us. Here the question is asked, how the boys were helpful. The boys were helpful to get what? A pack of American cigarettes, or seats for the opera, or the name of a good restaurant that could provide a good ravioli. So let's see in the next paragraph what is there. What struck one most was their unremitting willingness to work. Unremitting means never reducing, never slackening. Always, whenever they were asked for any work, they were always willing to do the work. During these summer days, under the hot sun, and in the long evenings when the air blew chill from the mountains, they shined shoes, sold fruit, hawked newspaper, conducted tourists around the town, ran errands, exploited every avenue which the troubled economy of the town left open to them. Here is praising their willingness to work hard, which never, no, the willingness never decreases. Though there were summer days and no, the wind, the air which blew from the mountains was very, very chilled air. They shined shoes, they sold fruit, they even hawked newspaper. Hawked newspaper in the sense, even sold newspaper, conducted tourists round the town, ran errands. Ran errands means to do small, small jobs, exploited every avenue. Avenue means method or means which the troubled economy. Now, what is the troubled economy? This particular town of Verona is the town we can say completely destroyed after the war. So the economy over here is troubled. People here won't get proper jobs, and these two boys who are just of 13 and 12 years of age are doing all kinds of errands to earn money. One night, we came upon them in the windy and deserted square. I hope the video which you saw before this class is more helpful to you so that you can keep on remembering what you just read or what we are reading now. So if you just read or if you remember, the video will be helpful to you. If you just not to you can watch afterwards, but if you remember those scenes shown in the video there. So one night we came upon them in the windy and deserted square, resting on the stone pavement beneath the pale arc lights. So one night maybe when he was on rounds or when maybe he had gone out somewhere, he saw these two boys in the windy and deserted square. Deserted means there are no people around, and square in the sense you can say junction part. So the place was very, very windy, wind was blowing. It was a lonely place, no one was seen around. These two boys were resting on the stone pavement. Pavement is nothing else but the footpath. Stone, the footpath is made up of stone. So there on the stone you can say beneath the pale arc lights. Light also, which were the street lights, were also pale, and beneath those lights these two boys were resting. Why they were resting and why they were at this particular moment on the street, we don't know. So Nicola sat upright, his face drawn by fatigue. A bundle of unsold newspapers lay at his feet while Jacopo had his head pillowed upon his brother's shoulder was asleep. It was nearly midnight. So here you got to know that these two boys are waiting there for whom we don't know. Maybe they are waiting for the customers to come and buy their unsold newspaper. At night, midnight at 12 o'clock, even we will not dare to sit there in the deserted square, and that too for selling, or you can say we won't dare to sell unsold newspaper, because after midnight, or you can say the next day itself, that particular newspaper is of no use. It becomes a scrap. So they were sitting over there to sell their unsold newspaper. Of course, Nicola being elder was sitting upright, but he was completely tired, and Jacopo had used Nicola's shoulder as a pillow and he was sleeping. Why are you out so late, Nicola? This was the question asked by the author. He had started sharply. He had started sharply in the sense, so if suddenly someone comes and talks to you at night, midnight, of course, he was at first surprised, was shocked as I spoke, but now he gave me a quite independent glance. So when the author asked, "Why are you so late, Nicola?" he just was startled at first, and then he just gave an independent glance, waiting for the last bus from Padua. We shall sell all our newspapers when it comes in. So they are waiting for a bus. Maybe it's a bus stand over there at the square. They are waiting for the last bus from Padua because they have a hope that in that particular bus there might be passengers who want the newspapers, and there are chances that they may buy our newspaper. Just can imagine midnight. How many passengers will be traveling in the bus? Hardly one or two, or maybe nil. So even then they have a ray of, you can say there is a hope in their eyes that yes, someone, at least one passenger, not the passenger, maybe the driver or the conductor, may buy their newspaper. Must you keep at it so hard? You both look rather tired. This was the question asked by the author, and for that he replied, "We are not complaining, sir." Of course, this reply was by Nicola. He said, "Of course, we are not complaining. So we didn't complain about all these things." But author is worried. He is so much, no, he becomes empathetic towards his two boys. Why are these boys struggling? So when he got the reply that "we are not complaining, sir," his tone, while perfectly polite, discouraged further inquiry. Politely had given the reply, but of course the author understood that he should not inquire anything further. But next morning when I went over to the fountain to have my shoes shine, I said, "Nicola, the way you and Jacopo work, you must earn quite a bit. You spend nothing on clothes. You eat little enough. When I see you having a meal, it's usually black bread and figs. Tell me, what do you do with your money?" It's quite obvious. The author is quite surprised that these two boys, they have been working hard. Author has seen them working hard. What are they doing with the money, or what are their future plans? So he said, "You eat little. You eat little enough. When I see you having a meal, it's usually black bread and figs." Now, black bread, you can say bread is made up of fine flour or of wheat. Black bread is made up of a rye, or you can say a very, very cheap quality food grain. Of that it is made, and if you are given a bread, you will always enjoy your bread with an omelette or with jam or with cheese or with butter or anything else. Here if you see, they are eating figs. Maybe figs are grown over there. Figs, if you see, as the fruit ripes, it falls down. So maybe they are having just black bread and figs. They are not spending on their food. They are not even spending on their clothes. He colored deeply under his sunburn. Colored deeply under his sunburn means he blushed. Then grew pale. His gaze fell to the ground. "You must be saving up to immigrate to America," I suggested. "Oh, maybe you want to immigrate to America." Now, many of the Europeans, they left their nation, mother nation, and they have immigrated to America for future, for better future. So here the author is making a guess that maybe you are saving the money to immigrate to America. He looked at me sideways, spoke with an effort. "We should greatly like to go to the States, but here at present we have other plans." He's not telling what plans, but he's saying that of course we would love to go to America, but at present we don't have those plans, we have other plans. Immediately our question is coming from the author's side, what plans? He smiled uncomfortably with that remote air which never failed to baffle me. He smiled uncomfortably. Of course, he was not comfortable to talk to a stranger or share his personal matters to a stranger with that remote air in the sense withdrawn way, or you can say aloof way, which never failed to baffle me. Publicly, it was a disgrace for the author because his question was not answered by Nicola. Then maybe he says, "Just plans, sir. He answered in a low voice. Even here, again, you can see he's not willing to share. He just in a low voice, he replies because it won't be polite if he doesn't give the reply to the question, what plans? So he just says, just plans, sir. And that too in a very low voice. Well, I said, we are leaving on Monday. Is there anything I can do for you before we go? So here he's saying that of course we in the sense his companion, the driver maybe, they are leaving this Monday. And then he wants that, okay, these two boys were very helpful to him, and now in return he wants to help them. So he says, well, we are leaving. Is there anything I can do for you before we go? Nicola shook his head. Of course, Nicola, he was just, you can say, a very well-behaved boy, elderly boy, and he doesn't love to take favors from others. So he just shook his head in negation. But suddenly Jacopo's nostrils quivered like a puppy's and he pipped up eagerly. So here Jacopo is not keeping quiet. Sorry, he piped up. Piped in the sense, in a very high pitch, he replied, sir, he burst out. Every Sunday we make a visit to the country to Poletta, 30 kilometers from here. Usually we hire bicycles. But tomorrow, since you are so kind, you might send us in your car. So immediately Jacopo was very eager. He requests the narrator that why don't, if you are asking for help, why don't you ask your driver to drop us to a nearby place, Poletta, which is 30 kilometers away from here. I had already told Yuki he might have the Sunday off. Of course, on Monday they are going to leave, so maybe the author wants the driver to take rest. So he is informing the boys that I have already told my driver to take rest. However, I answered, I will drive you out myself. So here author is willing to help those two boys, because those two boys every Sunday, maybe as said by Jacopo, they were going to Poletta, they were visiting Poletta and they were hiring bicycles. And now this Sunday maybe author is going to drop them to Poletta. There was a pause. Nicola was glaring at his young brother in vexation. Nicola was very angry. He couldn't react, but he was angry with Jacopo's behavior. So here he replies, he just speaks, we could not think of troubling you, sir. So he is so polite that no, sir, it's okay because we don't want to trouble you. It won't be any trouble. Who said this? The narrator. The narrator said, no problem, I don't have any objection, I don't have any problem. I am free, I will drop you to Poletta and I will take and bring you back. He bit his lip. Then, in a rather put-out tone, he said very well. Put-out tone means in a very inconvenient way. At last, Nicola had to agree with the proposal of dropping them to Poletta. And so he at last agrees, okay, fine. If author doesn't have any problem, he says, okay, fine, because he cannot speak further, he will not object anyone further. At the same time, he doesn't like to ask favors from others. The following afternoon, we drove to a tiny picturesque village. Picturesque village means having a quality of a painting. So he is saying that the following afternoon, that is Sunday afternoon, they left to a tiny picturesque village set up upon the hillside amidst sheltering chestnut groves with a fine pines on the upper slope and a deep blue lake beneath. So here the author is beautifully explaining the scenery over there. I imagine that our destinations would be some humble dwelling, but directed by Jacopo's shrill treble. Shrill treble means, Jacopo was very much, I can say, active, and he was the one who was guiding the narrator to drive his car the way to that particular place called Poletta. We drew up to a large red roof villa surrounded by a high stone wall. I could scarcely believe my eyes, and before I could recover breath, my two passengers had leaped nimbly from the car. Nimbly in the sense quickly, or you can say lightly. So before I could say My two passengers were already out of the car. We shall not be long, sir. See, here you can say the boys are polite. Though they are 13 years age, 12 years age, they have this particular, you can say, mannerism that yes, the person who has dropped us, they should actually inform him that we may take how much, like we may take 1 hour, 2 hour. Till that time, he can spend his time because they don't want him to come inside. So here the boys are requesting, or you can say Nicola is requesting the author. What is he requesting? Let's see. We shall not be long, sir, perhaps only an hour. Maybe you would like to go to the cafe in the village for a drink. They disappeared beyond the corner of the wall. When a few minutes had elapsed, I followed. I found a grilled side entrance and determinedly rang the bell. Of course, author was very much eager to know about these two boys. Instead of going to the nearby village for a cafe for a drink, he just entered behind them. A pleasant looking woman with a ruddy complexion, ruddy in the sense a rosy complexion, and steel rimmed spectacles appeared. I blinked as I saw that she was dressed in the white uniform of a trained nurse. So here the villa was beautiful, and here the author is surprised why this nurse is over here. He is not knowing what exactly is she doing here. So he just introduces himself. I just brought two boys here. Ah, yes. Her face lit up. She opened the door to admit me. Nicola and Jacopo, I will take you up. So here the nurse, of course, she knew those two boys. When she heard the name or when she heard about those two boys, she was happy to welcome the visitor who came along with them. She led me through a cool tiled vestibule. Vestibule is what you can say corridor in the hospital. For hospital the villa had become. Maybe the owner of the villa had surrendered his house for charity after the war effects. We transversed a waxed and polished corridor between well-equipped wards. We went upstairs to a southern balcony which opened to a vista of the gardens. Vista in the sense a vision of gardens, sight of garden, view of gardens, and the lake. On the threshold of a little cubicle, the nurse paused, put her fingers on her lips, and with a smile bade me look through the glass partition. So here, instead of entering inside, she just wants the narrator or the author to enjoy what is going inside. The two boys were seated at the bedside of a girl of about 20 who propped up on pillows wearing a pretty lace jacket was listening to their chatter, her eyes soft and tender. Despite the faint flush high upon her cheekbones and the queer inertness of her postures, one could discern at a glance, or you can say detect at a glance, her resemblance to her brothers. A vase of wild flowers stood on the table beside a dish of fruit and several books. So here what is the scene? These two boys are seated at the bedside of a girl who is almost 20 years old, and she resembles, or you can say she looks like them. And what is she doing? She has a soft look in her eyes. She is enjoying the chatter in their, whatever they are chattering, whatever they are speaking. Maybe Jacopo is complaining about Nicola and all these things. No, small childish talks. She is enjoying those childish talks. There is a faint flush upon her cheekbones. She is sitting propped up to the pillows, and beside her bed you can see there is a vase of wildflowers. Wildflowers, why wildflowers? Because maybe when they're going in search of strawberry to the jungle, they got these flowers, they got even fruits for her and even several books, so that she could spend her time reading the books over there because she was hospitalized. So we are not aware who is this particular girl, but now we got to know what they are doing and where they are. Won't you go in? The nurse murmured. Lucia will be pleased to see you. So here you can see this girl was Lucia, and then the nurse is saying that she will be happy, she will be pleased to see you. I shook my head and turned away. Of course, narrator got to know exactly where these boys have come. So now he wanted to know more. He turned and he left. I felt I could not bear to intrude upon this happy family party, but at the foot of the staircase I drew up. I drew up means I came to a halt. I stood over there, I stopped and begged her to tell me all she knew about these boys. Here now, he is begging the nurse, he is requesting the nurse that please tell him or tell me, in a sense, what these boys are doing here, who is that girl. She was eager to do so. They were, she explained, quite alone in the world except for this sister Lucia. So now she starts the story, their past. She says that these two boys are actually quite alone because they don't have any family left, only this particular sister whose name is Lucia. Their father, a widower in the sense of man who has lost his wife, whose wife is dead. So their father was a widower, a well-known singer at La Scala. So their father was a well-known singer at La Scala. La Scala is nothing else but an opera house in Italy. And it was actually inaugurated, that theatre was inaugurated on 3rd August 1778. So La Scala had been killed in the early part of the war. Shortly after a bomb had destroyed their home and thrown the three children into the streets. So father got killed in the war and their house was bombed because during the war a bomb fell and their house were destroyed and these three children were left out on the street. They had always known a comfortable and cultured life. Lucia had herself been training as a singer and they had suffered horribly from near starvation and exposure to the cold Veronese winter. Of course, after the war, these three children were left alone. They had a comfortable and cultured life. Lucia herself, she was getting training as a singer, but after the war, they were starving and they were exposed to the cold Veronese winter. For months, they had barely kept themselves alive in a sort of shelter they built with their own hands amidst the rubble. Now, whatever things they could get, their broken house was there, whatever things, broken, you can say, window frames or the door frame, broken door or bricks and full bricks, whatever they could get from the rubble, they tried to have their own one shelter. You cannot say a house, a home, but a shelter to be safe inside. So for months they had barely kept themselves alive in a sort of shelter they built with their own hands amidst the rubble. Then the German elite guard established headquarters in Verona and for 3 dreadful years ruled the city with a ruthless severity. The boys grew to hate those harsh, unwanted masters, and when the resistance movement began secretly to form, they were among the first to join. So here you can say Germans were the one who had dropped bombs and they were the one who had captured the city of Verona and they started ruling the city of Verona for 3 years. And these boys, those who realized that we have lost our family because of these Germans, started hating the unwanted masters. And when the resistance movement, when the movement was started against Germans, these two boys were the first to join it. The boys grew to hate those harsh, unwanted masters, and when the resistance movement began secretly to form, they were among the first to join. It was not a matter of playing war. Their extreme youth and insignificant size, added to an intimate knowledge of the neighboring hills, made them immensely valuable. It is not that they went to war against the Germans, they were helpful for a war because the secret messages which were meant to pass, they were passing it, and the knowledge of the neighboring hills which they had, that was immensely, their age, their size was immensely valuable to those members of resistance movement. They were used to carry messages to the forces of liberation and more dangerous still to ferret out information on the movements of the German troops. To ferret out means to bring to light or to uncover or to tell or to reveal. So they used to get the secrets of the German troops. The good nurse broke off her the good nurse broke off. Broke off means to end abruptly. She stopped in between, her eyes moist. Then with even deeper feeling, she went on. So here you can say the nurse continues, and when she's narrating the story, even she becomes emotional. I need not tell you how fine they were, these infants. Of course, when the war took place, when the unwanted masters came here and when they were ruling here, they were still more young. At present, they are just 12 and 13 years old, but and the sister is 20 years old. But when the war took place, when their father died, when the house was destroyed, they were still more younger. How they went in the darkness through the mountain passes with letters in their shoes which might cause them to be shot. And when it was all over and we had peace at last, they came back to their beloved sister and they found her suffering from tuberculosis of the spine contracted during the miseries of war. So when they got liberation, when German troops were drawn off, when the German troops were defeated, or we can say were chased out, these two brothers came back to their sister, and when they came back to their sister, one more big problem was waiting, and that was their sister was suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. This is called as after war effect. After war, due to the poisonous gases and many things, decaying and all these things, what happens? People's health is affected. She paused, took a quick breath. Did they give up? I do not have to answer that question. She is continuing the thing that even though when they came back, when they got to know that sister is suffering from tuberculosis of spine, they did not give up. They brought her here, persuaded us to take her into the hospital. In the 12 months she has been our patient, she has made good progress. Of course, she's narrating the story. Of course, you have seen just now the sister. So they did not give up. They brought her here, they requested us, and now if you see, it's almost 12 months. This is 1 year back. 1 year back in the sense, they got to know that the sister is suffering from tuberculosis of spine, and before that 3 years back, you can say, their father died and the house was actually destroyed. So you can count, it is 4 years back. So what might be the age? You can calculate. So here let's continue. There is every hope that one day she will walk and sing again. So here even the nurse is having a hope, because it's the dedication of these two boys, the way they take care of their sister, the way they love their sister. That is what she also says, that we have complete faith, we have complete hope that one day she will walk and sing again. Of course, everything is so difficult, food so scarce and dear. We could not keep going unless we charged a fee. But every week, Lucia's brothers have made their payment. She added simply, I don't know what they do. I do not ask. Work is scarce in Verona, but whatever it is, I know they do it well. It's a very, very touching part, you can say, the last part of this chapter, where nurse says that even we couldn't do our job, or we couldn't we couldn't give the service or treatment to their sister free of charge, because food was so scarce and dear. It was after effect of war that food was very, very scarce. If you want a hospital to run, you need to charge the patient over there. Food was so scarce and dear. When we say dear, when we don't get the things, all the things which we really want, if we don't get, those things becomes dear to us. Now at present, maybe you make fussy faces to the dish prepared by a mother, but once if you get to know that yes, tomorrow I'm not going to get that particular dish, we'll be happy for 1 day, 2 day. But if nothing is available, whatever is provided to you, we are ready to eat. At that time, food becomes dear to us, right? So we could not keep going unless we charged a fee. But every week, these two brothers, Lucia's brothers, every week they come to meet her, they meet her and they see that they make their payment. I don't know what they do. Nurse is surprised what they do, she doesn't know, and at the same time she doesn't want to ask because it's not good to ask, but she knows whatever they are doing their best. Work is scarce in Verona. Even people over there, these are just two small boys of 13 years age, 12 years age, and the elderly people over there, they are struggling to get jobs over there. Work is very, very scarce in Verona. And she's saying, I don't know how these two boys are managing, but whatever they are doing their best to do the, give the payment of the, pay the bill of the hospital at the same time to provide all the required medicines to their sister. Yes, I agreed. They couldn't do it better. I waited outside until I'll repeat again. I waited outside until the boys rejoined me, then drove them back to the city. They sat beside me, not speaking, in a mood of quiet contentment. Here now you can say the narrator also is not speaking. Those two boys also are not speaking. Why the narrator is not speaking? Because he is writing it further. Let's see afterwards. But these two boys are in a quiet, you can say, contentment, in a very happy mood, in a very pleasant mood, in a very satisfied mood that today they have paid the bill. At the same time, they have met their sister. So that contentment mood is there. That's why they were quiet. They were recalling those moments, enjoying, cherishing those past, we can say 1 hour which they spent with their sister. For my part, I did not say a word. Who is saying this? The narrator. I knew they would prefer to feel that they had safely kept their secret. Now, why narrator is not speaking? Now, here he could have asked why you came here, who is there inside, these and that, all those questions he could have asked. But here, or maybe he could have told them, yes, I got to know why you're doing this and all these things. But he kept quiet because he wanted to feel them that they have kept their secret from this particular stranger. War with its attendant horrors had not broken their spirit. This last part is very, very touching and very, very important. War has not broken their spirits. Of course, war has brought many problems, but their spirit to fight against it, to stand against it, to stand for it, has not been broken. And if an untimely maturity had been forced upon them, at least they had accepted it with dignity and courage. Untimely maturity in the sense we become mature only after the age of 16, 17, 18, or many of them they don't become mature only, right? So here he is pointing out that untimely, the age when they suffered, it was just maybe 7 years age or 8 years old they were. At that time, untimely maturity was forced upon them due to incidents or situations which took place. They had to accept and they have happily accepted that. Okay, and that to how with dignity and courage. Their selfless action brought a new nobility to human life, gave promise of a greater hope for human society. Their selfless action. What is the selfless action? They are earning, they are doing all those, you can say they are running errands. They are doing all those small jobs not for their purpose. They are doing this for the sake of their sister who is suffering from tuberculosis of spine. They want her to be cured properly. Even though they are younger to her, they are behaving like elder brothers. They are earning to save her. They are earning to treat her, and they want her back. They know their responsibility as brothers. Their selfless action brought a new nobility. Here the author is pointing out that if society has such type of boys that at a very young age, even though they are suffering lots of things in their life, they have not given up their spirit, they have not given up their responsibility. Such boys, when they grow up, when they become a citizen of a particular country, just you can imagine how noble. It's a great hope for such a nation where you have such citizens, those who know their, know how to face the life. They don't give up. They don't look. Commit suicide, but they know how to face their life. At the same time, they know their responsibility. So that is what he says, their selfless action brought a new nobility to human life, gave promise of a greater hope for human society. You really wish, you really want such young generations, those who are not brought up in such a way, but they have such qualities. These two boys are cultured, they had a comfortable life, but difficulties have not broken their spirit, they have not changed, they have not become selfish, they are as true gentlemen, they are taking care of their sister, though she is elder to them, they know their responsibility and they are following whatever way, whatever means they can. Of course, not immoral ways, they are moral, so you can say gentlemen, those are following good ways, good means of earning to pay the medical bills of their sister. So with this, we end up this particular beautiful chapter and we get to learn a big lesson that whatever difficulties we face in life, we should stand up, we should face it, at the same time not to give up our responsibility. So with this, we end with this chapter. The chapter's name was Two Gentlemen of Verona by A. J. Cronin. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Take care.